We like to kind of round off the year by talking about the things that have changed our lives this year. This is a tradition that we've done for 5 years now.
I dreamt that you were twisting through 7
Hello, and welcome to the final episode of the Soberful podcast for 2023. I'm Veronica.
And I'm Chip.
Yeah, we're going to take a little Christmas break, and we will be back the first week of January. And Chip loves his Christmas traditions.
Loves his Christmas. I was about to say something then when you said, Christmas break. It's like, really? I don't know. It won't be happening in my house.
So any long-term listeners of the podcast know that Chip is an atheist and does not do Christmas in any way, shape or form.
Nope.
And we will have the big reveal at the end of Chris and Heidi's untraditional Christmas dinner that they have every year.
Yep.
And we like to kind of round off the year by talking about the things that have changed our lives this year. This is a tradition that we've done for 5 years now. In April, it'll be 6 years. This podcast.
What, we've been doing this podcast for 6 years?
Almost.
Good God.
At 1.5 million downloads.
Wow.
All over the world, all over the world.
Definitely all over the world. Yeah, all over the world. Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah.
So we're gonna talk about the different things that have changed our lives. Let's talk about events.
Events for me this year have been, a couple of them are repetitive. The year before last, I went up to the Arctic to see the Northern Lights.
The Northern Lights, yeah.
And I went on my own and I absolutely loved it. And I did see the Northern Lights, but I didn't quite see them in the spectacular way that I kind of had hoped to see them. Mm-hmm. So I went back again this year and I had an even better time. And I was very fortunate in that I saw the Northern Lights much, much better. And I felt really, really moved by the experience. It was it was as close as I was going to get to a kind of spiritual experience. And it was, I just sat there for hours. I mean, obviously I had my camera with me, but they were on for so long that I was able just to sit and watch and enjoy. And I was hooked up with a great group of people. There were 5 other women there traveling together, and I kind of tagged along with them, and we had a great time, and it was a really lovely experience. So that was something I've done before, and also my annual Canal trip with my son, which we keep on doing, and he keeps on wanting to do, and we're going to do next year as well. And each year that he keeps on wanting to do it almost means a little bit more each time, because it's like, oh my God, he still wants to hang out with his dad. So that's really nice. I did a documentary this year, a TV documentary that got a lot of coverage over here about a celebrity over here who had been involved in some,
Was that Rolf Harris?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I watched it when I was home.
Yeah, I was proud of that. And I was proud of the work I did in the first place. And also, I was proud of the way that they presented the information. I thought they did it well, and that was pretty special for me, really. So that was a big thing.
Can I just say, so for our American audience, Rolf Harris was he's Australian actually, but he was a huge celebrity in the UK. It's funny, we have quite a few Australians who are really huge celebrities in the UK. Anyway, he was a big part of my childhood. I loved his shows. Loved his shows. He was funny, and there's been this whole thing in England that basically, so if you're a kid from the 70s and 80s, basically all of the adults who were on TV shows have now been outed as some kind of groomer or paedophile or abuser. It's quite devastating, actually.
Yeah.
And he was one of them. And the show went kind of deconstructed, what he got away with and how he got away with. And Chip was interviewed about that.
Yeah. And I was really pleased with the way that's sort of slightly peculiar phrase to put together with that particular subject, but I was proud to have been
satisfied that it helped people.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And this is a really high class thing, but I discovered that I had got a pension that I thought I had used up when I first started the rehab 30 odd years ago. and discovered that there was a little pot of money there, which was like winning the lottery. It wasn't. I mean, it wasn't lottery type money, but I mean, it was. It was enough to kind of make me go, "Oh, blimey, that's really nice." You know, it was. It was, but it was such a surprise because when I first got told, I thought it was a scam. And I had to check with my brother, who's an accountant or finance advisor. I said, "What's the scam here?" You know, and he said, because I said they keep on telling me I've got all this money, and he said, "There is no scam. You've got it." I mean, as I said, we're not talking about hundreds and hundreds of thousands of pounds, but talking about enough to make a difference to me and to enable me to go out and
Yeah.
get a better secondhand car and stuff like that. But so that was such an amazing sort of surprising and actually couldn't have come at a more appropriate moment.
I wonder how many people have little pots somewhere that they don't
Oh,
know about from
I
some
think
savings account. I think it's a lot.
I think a lot. Yeah, I think a lot. Because, I mean,
Yeah.
I had no idea until I got this letter saying, we've been trying to locate. I don't know how they got hold of me, and fair play to them for chasing me down. But I think a lot of people have got stuff stashed away, that the little pension schemes they
Yeah.
joined when they were working. You know, you think about it. I don't know how long it was, 2 years I must have been paid, but it's 35 years ago, and that accrues interest, you know, and
Hmm.
yeah, that was a really that made a big difference to my life. And my son and I have really bond. I mean, we're close anyway, but we've really bonded. He's had a fantastic year, and I'm a very proud dad this year. He's an actor, and he's been in 4 films this year. He's
Being in a
filming.
yeah, keep seeing stuff pop up. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's filming at this moment now. But there's something about we've developed a kind of mutual love of photography, which is really special to me. That I've got something that I can
Mm.
always. I mean, we're not short of things to talk about anyway, but just that I've got that little bond, and he's absolutely fascinated with it, and that's been very good. And again, on a sort of photographic theme, I just have recently been to a really run-down part of the UK and spent 4 days there in the hope of trying to find good photographs. I came away with nothing of any real photographic value at all. But as an experiment, I was glad I did it, and I think I'll do it again next year. I'll pick somewhere else and see what I can do. But it was. Yeah, it was an interesting experience. It was a very positive experience. It was really, as I've often said in this podcast, you know, here on Sober For, is that I find photography very meditative. I just sort of,
Mm.
it's just me and visuals trying to, you know, and
Mm.
a number of times I almost get run over because I'm just too busy looking at things. But so those have been the big
Mm.
standout things that have happened for me this year.
So
Remained
my
married.
always a plus.
Always a plus. Always a plus. Yeah.
I've also remained married. Our biggest thing is we moved again.
Again,
And I'm hoping this is the last.
this is an annual event.
I
Yeah.
know. I know. It is. I know. I can't explain. I can't explain it. Like I don't want to move anymore. And I really hope that I found the place that I want to spend the rest of my life in because I love it. So long story short, because we have moved to Southern Alabama. And whenever you tell somebody like that, especially if you're, I don't know, fairly liberal-ish, people look at you like you've just said, I've moved to outer Mongolia.
Right.
Because there is a lot of preconceptions about the South in the USA. So here's the story. We lived in Lake Tahoe for 3 years because my husband got a job there.
Beautiful it was up there.
It's very, very beautiful. You're fidgeting. What are you doing?
Sorry, I was just.
It puts me off when you fidget.
I was multitasking. I shouldn't be.
No.
I will not multitask anymore.
So we moved there for my husband's job. Long story, he ended up retiring. Lake Tahoe is a very, very beautiful place. It is spectacular. It's mountains and lake, but I'm going to tell you it's very hard to live there. Once he retired, we knew that we weren't going to stay there long term because it's extremely expensive, like off the scale.
Yeah.
B, it's very, very, very rural. So my son had some health issues, and all the specialists were in Reno. So to do anything, to go to a doctor, to go to a specialist dentist, to buy soccer cleats, to, anything you have to do with normal life requires you to drive down a mountain with hairpin turns that for 6 months of the year is life-threatening.
Yeah.
So it was very, very, very rural, and the schools were terrible. So we knew we were going to move. We just didn't know where, blah, 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 blah. So my husband had a job opportunity in Mobile, Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh God. And we came, he didn't get the job, but we liked it way more than we ever anticipated.
Right.
Then we discovered a town outside of Mobile that we fell in love with, that is beautiful. The schools are great. The weather is fantastic. I mean, the summers are very hot and muggy, but honestly, sure. I did 6 months of like snowstorms every week. We didn't want winter. We wanted a better cost of living, blah, blah, all the things that, and so we've moved here, and so far I love it. I love it. I love it, love it, love it. I can see palm trees out of my window. I'm minutes from the beach. I'm going to say, so the people are lovely, really, really, really nice. All of my preconceptions about the South I've had to examine my prejudices and my preconceptions. I'm going to say I've met tons of fantastic people. So there's several things I really like. I'm not saying Alabama doesn't have its issues, because it does, but so does every state and every country.
Sure.
Here's the things that I love. I love that manners are a really big deal here. And we were really on our kids that you have to say ma'am and you have to say sir. And you have to be respectful. And they've really picked up on it. And I'm like, this is how it should be. Holding up, they run to hold up a door for, someone, let me get that for you. Yes, sir. No, ma'am. I actually really like it. I really like that a lot. Just the other night, actually, I was listening to my son, and I can begin to detect a little Southern accent. I can begin to hear the vowels are lengthening.
Yeah.
So I'm sure by the time they're in high school, they have a Southern accent. So because I can work from anywhere, we have moved here, and I absolutely love it. Every day I say to my husband, I love it here. I love that I've got all of the things that I want on my doorstep, because I need to be able to run to the store and get soccer cleats or a swim costume or something. And the cherry on the cake is the cost of living. It's a big thing. I've only ever lived in expensive areas. Long Island, New York was expensive. Cambridge was expensive. Lake Tahoe was expensive. My husband's from San Francisco. It's like everything's half price here. It's amazing. Gas is half the price. So come visit us in Alabama. It's fabulous. We've got a golf course right around the corner. It's really, really nice. So that's kind of probably the biggest event. And then we did a family road trip. So we had to drive because we have the dog. So we drove from Lake Tahoe all the way across
Utah.
Yeah, we took about 7 or 8 days. Utah, Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, Mississippi, Louisiana, Oklahoma. We stopped at the Grand Canyon. And that's fun as a family to do that. I mean, we had a lot of hours in the car with kids and a dog. And then we did, because every time we hit somewhere, there'd be a song. Like there's a song, like every like lots of so we would find the song about the state or the city or whatever, and we would play the song, and then we played Sweet Home Alabama when we came. So that's my biggest event, and I'm just gonna say it's kind of made me re-examine a lot of my beliefs and stuff that I've been thinking a lot. I'm really kind of I love it here, and I think Alabama is America's best kept secret. In fact, we kind of have a joke where we live, because we live in a place where everyone does what we live in, a really nice gated community that we rent, and then everyone else does, and everyone's kind of buying or building a house or something.
Sure.
And there's lots of people here from California and New York, and we're like, shh, let's just keep up the kind of that it's kind of ignorant and backwards. Like let's just pretend that it's like that, because it isn't like that.
Right.
So no one else comes. Anyway, secrets out of the back. Okay, what? I know you don't watch TV, but did you watch any TV shows at all? Because I have some recommendations for you.
I watched Succession, which I thought.
Oh, what did you think?
I thought it was absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't. It's brilliant television.
It was brilliant at every single level. I mean, avoided it and avoided it and avoided it. And then my son said, "Oh my God, it's great." And I had to sort of binge watch about 25 episodes to get myself up to date. My God, I thought it was absolutely spectacular stuff. Spectacular stuff. So other than that,
it raised the bar so high in the
very
acting.
yeah.
I mean, it's just it was extraordinary, and they also finished it like I'm
Finished
glad
it
they
well.
ended
Yeah,
it.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
But
ending things
because
is very important. It's like there's certain things that just go on.
yes, knowing when to end.
Yeah, knowing
Yeah.
when to end is really important, and they got it just right. They got it just right. I thought, and that was. I did watch that. I did watch, and I had to watch a lot of television to catch up with that. So other than that, I didn't really watch any television at all. Film wise, I liked Oppenheimer.
Mm-mm. We're staying on TV. We'll
Oh,
get
we're
to
staying on
film.
TV.
I
Well,
haven't
I
done
haven't
my
got any
TV.
other TV.
Yeah.
That's me TV
Well,
done.
I've got.
Okay.
So I'm glad you watched Succession because I knew you'd enjoy it because it's.
Yeah.
I mean the scene. I don't. I mean it's out, so I'm not. Spoilers. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen it. But the death when he dies, and they're
Yeah.
on. I mean the perfect combination of comedy and tragedy.
I
Like
know.
1 minute you're like this. It's absurd, and then the next. Oh, like
I know.
it was incredible. I hope everyone. I just don't think anyone bother showing up to the award ceremonies. That cast has got a lock on everything.
I think it's going to get a lot. I think it'll probably sweep the board.
Okay, you need to. I want you to watch this show, and if Seth hasn't seen it, I think he would love it too. Because as an actor, the acting is phenomenal. It's called The Bear.
Okay.
It's so good, Chip. It's only like 30-minute episodes. Tell Seth. He will love it. Season 2 was better than season 1. So The Bear is about a family affected. It's about a family affected by addiction. And
is it?
The second season, yeah, and they had an episode. Jamie Lee Curtis played the mother, and it was this
I've heard of
it was a
yeah.
Christmas. Yeah, it's really good. So it was so brilliant because it was a flashback to the family Christmas, and all the adult children are there. And the mom is cooking the Christmas dinner, and she's drinking, but she's in the she's very merry. She's in the like, and the children are all like, they're just praying that it goes differently this time.
Yeah.
But they know how this goes.
Okay.
And it's that, you know, I don't need, but I think you would really enjoy it. And I think Seth would like it because the acting is fantastic.
Oh, okay.
So I love that.
Oh, I've just remembered something else I do. Which is Between Two Ferns with Zach Galifianakis. It's a tiny little comedy show.
Oh, I've heard of that. Yeah,
and it's a kind of pastiche on old cable television chat shows and things. And I think he's absolutely brilliant in it.
I've heard of that.
I think you just watch it on Facebook or whatever, TikTok, whatever. But I mean, it's just little short 10-minute, 15-minute things. But I think it's brilliant. Yeah, it's won a few awards. That's won a few awards.
The other show that we binge watched was Yellowstone, which I did. It's kind of it's fun. It's indulgent TV. Yeah. It's Kevin Costner and the cowboy ranch in Montana, and I like it because it's watchable TV. But it's such a different culture. Like that whole culture, it's so alien to me that I just find it fascinating. Rain Dogs, I loved with who's that actress? She was in This Country. She's a comedic actress. Really good. Again, it has an addiction angle. She's trying to get sober, and she's a single mum in London, and she's trying to be a writer. That was really, really good. And then we also watched, which I loved, The Pacific, which was out about 15 years ago, and my husband wanted to watch it, and I'd never seen it, and that was harrowing but incredible. Like, just can't get over what those young men went through in World War II. So those are my
Well, in any war, in any war thing, I did the First World War for my A level, and just stunning stuff. Stuff.
Yeah. No wonder that generation was called the greatest generation. Okay.
Yeah.
Movies. I have two.
Movies.
I have you. So you said Oppenheimer. I haven't seen it yet.
I liked Oppenheimer. I
That came
thought,
out right when we were moving.
yeah. Oh, did it? Okay. Yeah, I thought it was. I thought it was very good. It was. I had no preconceptions of what it was going to be like. I thought Kieran, whatever his name is, was very good in it. And again, something that was incredibly kind of. I'm old enough to know to have been alive during the, and not old enough to when they dropped the bomb on Nagasaki, but I'm old enough to have been fully cognizant of how
Yeah.
big atomic warfare was and still is, but how that development and they'd be constantly testing new hydrogen bombs
Yeah.
and atom bombs, and and every time they did a test, it would be in the news, and so I was
Yeah.
very kind of aware of how important that whole thing was. So it was fascinating to watch. And the other one I've just seen is Killers of the Flower Moon.
I haven't
Uh,
seen that either. Was it good?
well, I don't think Martin Scorsese can put a foot wrong myself. It was very long, but I didn't think there was a wasted scene in the whole
Oh,
movie. I mean, sometimes with long movies, you think, well, they could have cut out half an hour,
yeah.
but actually, I don't think there was a wasted scene in the whole movie.
Huh.
Yeah, which was. And as I said, I think Scorsese is fantastic. It was a brilliant cast. De Niro, DiCaprio. I mean, you can't go far wrong with that lot.
Mm.
And the woman who I'm ashamed to say I can't remember her name. I think it's her first movie, but she was just so understated and good. Yeah, really good, really good.
Mm.
Great movie, beautifully shot.
They're both on my list. I have to watch them on our big TV. So I
Yeah.
have two movies as well. And the
Okay.
first one I want to recommend to you, because not only is this the best film I saw this year, it's probably now in my top 5 films I've ever
Oh
seen in
my
my
God,
life.
it's a big.
It's so good that I couldn't. It's extraordinary. It's called Aftersun, and it's got Paul Mescal in it, who's an up and coming Irish actor, young Irish
Uh-huh.
actor, who's he actually nominated for the Oscar for this. He plays a young father of an 11-year-old girl, and it's just shot where it's sort of set in the 90s,
Uh-huh.
and they're on holiday somewhere like a sort of bargain, all-inclusive, not very fancy resort in somewhere like Greece or Cyprus or somewhere like that.
Yeah.
And it's about their relationship. And I actually watched it on the two films that I'm going to talk about, I watched on planes, and they are both emotionally devastating. And at the end, I was like, I'm on a plane and I'm like trying to hold it. So it really got me because
Yeah.
of my thing about my dad.
Yeah.
Oh God, it's a masterclass of showing, not telling. It's a
Yeah.
masterclass, and
Yeah.
at the end will slay you. But it's so good. It's so it's beautiful. It's so well acted, and it's a first-time filmmaker. She actually got a grant, I think, from she got some funding, and it's brilliant. It's brilliant,
Okay.
and I think you would like it. Put it on your list.
I will. I will.
And then the second one that I loved, which I also saw on a plane, was Emily, and a British actress that I really like, and it was about Emily Bronte.
Oh yeah.
And it was an imagining. So after I watched it, I was reading all about the Bronte sisters. I've read Wuthering Heights. I've read all of the Brontes in my 20s, and this is incredible. Emily Bronte, they were all very reclusive, and she was extremely introverted. She didn't like to go out ever. She went once abroad to Belgium for a few weeks, but she just didn't like to go anywhere. She didn't like other people. She was incredibly introverted, and yet she wrote this story that is just mind-boggling. The passion that what she imagined. So it's an imagining of a romantic relationship that she had, and there's no evidence she did.
Okay.
It's just there's no evidence she did, but there's no evidence she didn't. It could be possible, who knows?
Yeah.
But that was also beautiful and extraordinarily kind of positioning these women and their storytelling, and I just found her really fascinating. Like how, her short life, and it was, the family was like all the family members died of like tuberculosis or whatever,
Yeah, no,
like one by
yeah,
one. It's
yeah,
quite awful. And she died so young, and she didn't go anywhere doing it. She was limited by her sex, being female, but she had this inner life that is extraordinary. And I was kind of fascinated by that. And the film really, really did a good job of portraying this woman who had so much inside of her.
sure.
Right. That is what they did really well. So that was
Yeah.
the other film I really enjoyed. So
Yeah, I must look out for them. Yeah.
yeah. Aftersun. Please watch Aftersun.
I will.
It's incredible. It's
Okay.
incredible. It's a relationship between a father and a daughter, and he's trying to do his best. You can see he's really trying to do his best, and he really loves her, but he's just a bit young and
Yeah.
just hasn't got it together. And
I've got a little list of things.
I'm going to watch it
there.
again.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's got a piece of music right at the end that forever will be like, I can't not picture the scene in my head when I hear that. It's a very, very, very well-known song that they use very cleverly. So,
okay.
What about books? What books did you read that you really enjoyed?
I came across an English author called Eddie Lancaster, who writes about West Midlands, kind of, which is a sort of part of England that's sort of not the best part of England. And to me, it was laugh out loud, funny writing about funny situations.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, almost every page was a laugh out loud thing. But what was extraordinary was that in the second book he wrote, or the one of his I read, because it's set in the West Midlands, that's where my father's factory was. In the second book, the start of the book talks about my father's factory and a scandal that was associated with my father's factory, because my father made, not my father personally, but the company got involved in making a big gun for Saddam Hussein. And that scandal got featured in this book, and it didn't name my father's factory by name, but I couldn't believe it. I was reading this funny book, and suddenly this family scandal kind of was in this book. It was extraordinary. Yeah, it was. I was going to hide. Look. And the other book I've just finished is an ex-MP called Rory Stewart, and his book on it's called Politics on the Edge, and his book about kind of insight into British politics. So honest, so truthful, so revealing about how messed up the system is and how chaotic the system is and how class-ridden the system is and how, just a fantastic, one of the most honest political memoirs or books I've ever read, and I would really highly recommend it to anybody. Yeah. So those were the two books I read. I read a lot of Eddie Lancaster. I read about 4 of his this year. So yeah, but I'm a slow reader.
I'm not. Yeah. I read a lot, and I'll write that down because you 3 or 4 years ago, one of your book recommendations was the C.J. Sansom books about Shard Lake, and I love historical fiction. And after we recorded, I downloaded it. I remember we were going on holiday to Cancun, and I started reading, and I loved them, and I read them all back to back, and I loved all of those books. And I was just looking actually because his last book was in 2018, so I'm hoping that another one will be out soon because those are brilliant. So I like your recommendations. I'll check those out. Okay, so my books were, and this probably won't be one for you. I love dystopian and sci-fi and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And the sci-fi book series that I love more than anything, it's called Red Rising, and it's set about 3,000 years in the future when we've colonized all the planets. And it was the 7th book in the series came out. It's by a young man called Pierce Brown. It's way more than sci-fi. It's really political. It's sort of, he uses a lot of Roman and Greek kind of mythology in it. I just love them. The action scenes, the characters. There was a big death in this one, and it was devastating. And there's going to be one more in the series, and I love it when you have a series that you really, really get into.
Yeah, completely.
I reread this. It's a series of books that I'll read every 10 years. I can't wait until my boys are old enough to read it. So that was my most anticipated book, and I loved it, and it didn't let me down. I also loved Exit Interview, which is by Christy Coulter, who has been on the podcast. Actually, she wrote a sobriety memoir.
I remember her.
And her second book.
I remember her. Yeah.
Yeah,
Coulter,
yeah, she's a really good writer.
Coult. Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, she's a really good writer. And she wrote Exit Interview as her memoir of being a senior executive at Amazon. And that, doesn't sound like a particularly exciting subject.
No.
But she's such a great writer. It was honestly a page turner. It was really fascinating.
What's it called?
Exit Interview.
Exit Interview.
It's about the culture of Amazon. Like, she kind of started when it was more than a startup. It was established, but it was still quite rocky, like, because Amazon has this culture of just basically working people to death and having like ridiculous goals and
not allowing rest breaks and things like that.
But I mean, so she was an executive, so she was quite high up, but she's a phenomenal writer, and it was fascinating and really interesting about the psychology of people and the culture, and also the place of as a woman in senior leadership. Sure. Kind of a lot of the sexism and stuff that quite like you just can't believe some of the stuff that came out.
It doesn't seem to have got massively better, does it? It's got a little bit better, but it doesn't seem to have got massively better.
I don't think it's overt anymore. I don't think like in Mad Men where someone could pinch your ass and get away with it. I don't think it's overt, but in terms of it still, I mean, she points out there's a couple of extraordinary things that happen that are blatantly sexist, that are completely denied by Jeff Bezos and however you say his name. So yeah, it's good. It's interesting. Yeah. The other book that I loved was You Could Make This Place Beautiful, which was a memoir by a poet called Maggie Smith. And she wrote a really famous poem that kind of went viral 3 or 4 years ago, I think it was. Oh God, was it called Lovely Bones? I can't remember something Bones in the title. But she's a poet and she teaches poetry. And it's a memoir of her marriage ending. And fuck me, I wouldn't want to be her husband. She was very, very honest about her side of the story. And she said, this is my version of the truth. But it was really good. It was beautiful. She used the way she writes and her falling apart and coming back together and a lot about motherhood and work and balancing wanting to be a mother and having to be there for her kids and the calling of work that she loves. Like that was what was really interesting. So yeah.
Good.
I think that's it.
Good. Well, I've got some things every now and then I do take my iPad and I'll watch something. So I'm definitely going to watch. There's something about I've read something about that Jamie Lee Curtis thing, and I heard she was very good in it. Yeah.
The episode will be familiar to anyone who grew up in an alcoholic family, right? And had to hold that internal tension, of really wanting it to be a nice Christmas, but knowing once the parent starts drinking, anything could happen.
Right.
But it's The Bear, and I think I said last year it was my show. It was one on my list. But season, it's like Succession, actually, in terms of everything is A+. The casting, the acting, the script, the soundtrack, just everything. Everyone brings their A game to it. And they're 30-minute episodes. They're short, sharp, 30 minutes of utter brilliance. And the lead actor, he's so good. So good. I think you'll enjoy it because it's about the after effects of it's how my family is affected by addiction. So,
okay.
It's brilliant. Yeah. So we would love you guys to watch it. What books, films, movies, events changed your life this year? Let us know. Yep. I love book recommendations and movie and TV recommendations. I do feel like we do watch a lot of TV. Well, we don't. We watch one show a night once our kids are in bed and then we go to sleep. That's it. And I still manage to read a lot. But anyway, give us your recommendations. We would love to have them. We hope that you have a very sober and a very happy and peaceful holiday period. Okay. What are you going to have for Christmas dinner, you and Heidi? Tell us.
We are going to have bread and jam.
You're not.
Yeah.
You're not.
We
That's ridiculous.
We thought toasting it was too much effort. So we're just going to have...
Are you a pauper?
No, but we last year we had toast involved, and there was an awful lot of effort involved in the toast. I mean, so we want to cut out that bit. So we're going to just go straight to bread and jam or jelly, whatever you call it over there. Yeah, we want to cut out the hard work. All the cooking is now taken out of the equation. So
okay,
there was too much cooking last year with the toast. So it's just bread and jam.
What kind of bread are you going to get? Like supermarkets,
wholemeal bread,
or a nice one that you have to saw and it's got nice wholemeal.
No, it'll probably just be a sliced loaf, and I think we're going to have ginger and rhubarb jam, jelly, whatever you call it. Yeah.
Ginger and rhubarb—that's quite exotic.
It is quite exotic. Jelly? Yeah, it is. Yeah, well, it's Christmas. We'll throw the caution to the wind. But yeah, no heat will be involved in this procedure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm sure Chip will post a picture of his untraditional Christmas dinner on social media in the Facebook group. Please join us in January where we will be back. There's some episodes. One of the ones I want to do is on workaholism. Somebody's asked us to do an episode on workaholism.
Yeah.
Other suggestions, please let us know. We always like to talk and research different subjects. And we will see you in 2024. Thank you so much for being listening. And please give us a quick rating on the app before you stop listening, because that really helps the show. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Thanks for a great year.